If you're new here, my name is Akili. I'm the owner of Vibe Artist Studio, and again, I'm so excited to be back with you guys for another episode of What's the Vibe. So this week is actually special. We're doing a 2-part drop, and we're titling it Wavelengths. This week's segment is going to be about connecting with your audience. We're going to be talking about audience engagement. So part 1, which will be dropped on what would be now Thursday, is going to focus heavy on specifically audience interaction and specific things that you're going to want to pay attention to as far as it literally concerns the people sitting in the chairs. And you'll understand what that means when I get into the video when we start going through everything. Part 2 is going to be more about yourself as it relates to the audience. So 1 is about physically what you're doing with the audience and how you are acknowledging them and how you are processing their presence. And part 2 is about all of the things that you do personally on stage to relate to that audience and ultimately inspire a standing ovation. So I am ready to get started. If you are, as always, I've got my handy dandy notebook. Let's get started. All right, so number 1, you need to know your audience, okay? Before you go into that venue, you need to be asking questions. What's the typical audience look like? What's the age group? What's the attire? Ask questions like that of the venue if they have the answers. It'll be super beneficial to you going into your set. So 1, you know how to plan your set accordingly, and 2, you know what types of jokes you can tell, what types of things you can say. If you're a millennial and you're performing for a bunch of boomers, period, might not be a turn of phrase that you want to use on stage. So just be aware, know your audience, and make it clear that you are the entertainer and they are the audience, okay? You need to walk in and own it, fully own it. Take control of that stage and move your audience the way that you want them to move. Which brings me to number 2, own the show. Own the show. You need to go into each performance knowing exactly what you're gonna do, how you're gonna do it. Plan your set, fully plan your set. You may not know every story you're gonna tell. You may not know in the middle of the show if you're gonna have to cut a song or add a song or whatever, but know your show in and out. And have some plan Bs. Your audience may ask for encore, or you may realize that this song where you placed it doesn't fit in the set for your audience. Or maybe your show is going a certain type of way. Or if you're a popular artist and there are lots of people who know your music, you may get requests, shout outs from the audience in the middle of your show. You need to be prepared no matter what. And even if you're motivated by an audience shout out or audience people's choice, whatever, right? Still, your preparation is going to determine how smoothly that happens. So don't put yourself in a position, or try not to put yourself in a position where you are forced to perform the show the audience wants and not the show that you've prepared. Next thing, scan your audience. Just like scan your audience throughout your show. And by that, I mean, use your stage, walk back and forth, make eye contact with people, and just get a feel for the mood, right? Because at any point in time, you might realize, oh man, my audience is falling asleep, they're bored. My next song needs to be up tempo. I might need to make a quick adjustment to the set. Even if it's the opposite, and let's say your crowd is hype, they hype. You know what I mean? They're really digging it. They're really digging the vibe. You can make some really smart, really intelligent choices about where you go next in your set. If your set is going well and if it's set up perfectly, you can make a mental note of that so you can keep that set, for future engagements. So monitor and respond to your audience accordingly, okay? You owe it to them. They're there for you. Just as much as you're there for them, they're there for you. So be aware of them, check them out, see how they're doing, and make any adjustments to your set that you need to make. Next thing, right? This one's my favorite. This is like the A1 audience engagement tip, okay? Get your audience involved. Literally, that's what audience engagement is. Involve your audience in what you're doing. Get them into it, right? It's one of my favorite things to do. So my fiance and I, we are a part of a singer-rapper duo. We go by Hoko and Mars. And one of our hit song, Cherry Roses, has this little bridge, this little chant where we go, the blacker the cherry, the sweeter the root. And so when we perform this song live, something that we do is we encourage the chant and encourage audience participation during the song. So I may do something like, the blacker the cherry, and I'll stick the mic out and everybody goes, the sweeter the root, because they've been listening to the song and they know it. Now in this case, we have an audience who knows us already and they're familiar with our music. But just because an audience may not be familiar with your music doesn't mean you can't still implement a very similar technique or a similar tactic. So in your case, you might actually teach that little bridge before the song starts. You may say something to the effect of, all right, y'all, so for this next song, I'm gonna need some help. I'm gonna need y'all to participate and get your participation points for this show, okay? It's required of everybody. Everybody's gotta participate, so let's go. I got this bridge. It goes like, the blacker the cherry, the sweeter the root. So, repeat after me. The blacker the cherry, the sweeter the root, the sweeter the root. All right, so now what I want y'all to do, when I say the blacker the cherry, when I put my mic out, y'all gotta say, finish it with the sweeter the root. Something like that. And you get them involved, you do that a few times, and then boom, you roll the song. And it gets people hyped, it gets people, bobbing, it gets people listening to you. Because now that they know that they have to participate, they're checking from when you give those keywords and you give that key lyric when it's time for them to participate in response. Audiences love that, right? So use it. Use it to your advantage. Obviously, don't do it on every song, but pick those good ones, those pinnacle songs that have good sections, good bridges, or if you have a short hook or something like a chant, use those songs as opportunities to inspire audience participation. So, next tip we've got here in our handy dandy notebook. Rivet your audience with something exceptional, right? If you know how to stand on two toes and play banjo, do it. Let's say you may have your first skill maybe dancing, throw in a routine number, something crazy, something out of the ordinary that people wouldn't expect, right? If you know how to play 6 instruments, find an opportunity to play all 6. Whatever your thing is, whatever your special thing is that you can do that. Now you may be saying to yourself, well, I just sing. I go to the studio, the producer gives me a track, I record the track, maybe write a little bit, or I might even write the whole song, but beyond that, I don't play any instruments, I don't dance, I don't juggle, I don't do anything special, right? Okay, and that's fine. Well, in that case, if you are that person, that doesn't make you any less special. That just means, though, you gotta turn up on the personality. You gotta come with the personality, be entertaining, tell stories. Now, I am getting into a few things that are gonna come at part 2. So if you want to learn how to make yourself special, per se, don't really like saying it like that, but so that you feel like you have something entertaining and different to offer to your audience that maybe they've never seen or experienced before, make sure you watch part 2 of Wavelengths, because I'm going to talk about some really cool things that you can do and some really awesome and dope ways that you can start to really bring out your personality and, give your audience something exceptional about you to remember. Speaking of entertaining your audience, make them laugh. Make them laugh. Everyone, I don't know anyone who doesn't absolutely love to laugh, okay? If you can make someone laugh, you can keep their attention, you've got them hooked, okay? So, I don't know, tell some jokes. Tell a funny story about how you came up with this song that you wrote. There are some people in the world who are just naturally funny. They just have a natural comedic timing, and they're just naturally funny people. I am not one of those people at all, but I make somebody laugh every single show just by telling my truth. Tell your truth. And the reason why it's funny is not because what happened to you is so funny, especially if it was something a little tragic, dark humor. But it's because people can relate. And when people can relate to you, it makes them comfortable with you. And the laugh is kind of like yeah, I've been there. That was me. Make them laugh. Bring them into your world. And hey, if you get some audience engagement, especially if you're in an intimate sort of venue where you have really dope audience engagement and people are talking to you and can, really being vocal and involved, use that to your advantage. Respond to people, just be entertaining. Make them laugh, or at the very least, put a smile on their face. And sometimes to do that, all you have to do is show up. So don't think about it too hard. But definitely a good tip. The last tip of the video is probably one of the more, I guess could be considered tricky things to do. And this tip involves really speaking to your audience and knowing how to expand upon their interests, right? So what this means is that you really want to try to develop great authentic stories that create a common ground for your audience. Similarly to what I was saying in the last tip, about making them laugh and be entertaining, right? This is one of those ways that you do that. So find things in your life, as it pertains to your music or as it pertains to the story that you were trying to tell in your work, right? Try to have some really cool stories to tell. Or just some really cool things that you can human things that you can bring up and mention, in the midst of your show and your performance to really bring people into your world and make them feel like they know you. I think it's important to be your truest self when you're performing. I mean, that's beyond any and everything. That's the most important thing, right? Being your truest self. And you wouldn't believe how many people share common stories or share common situations. So don't be afraid to bring some content with you, content create while you are preparing your set. And really think about, what are some things in my life, what are some things that I can talk about, bring up, mention that other people can probably relate to. And it doesn't always have to be something funny or upbeat. It could be a tragedy that occurred that maybe inspired one of your songs. Be open, talk about it, and be concise, Tell your story, but tell it clearly, tell it succinctly, because at the end of the day, it is still a concert, not a story time. But tell your story and be authentic and be true, and people will relate to you. They will. And that is what's going to keep them engaged, glued in, tapped in for the entirety of your performance. So that is the conclusion to part 1 of Wavelengths, where we are talking about connecting with your audience, promoting audience engagement, and just ultimately it boils down to how to be the most entertaining that you can be on stage. Look out for part 2. It will be uploaded tomorrow, Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm super excited for you all to see it. And just as a reminder, part 2 is going to focus a lot on yourself and some of the things that you personally do that are performance-based that are inclusive of underneath the umbrella of audience engagement and keeping your audience involved and just having them connected to you and to your show. So look out for part 2, and thanks so much for watching as always. Make sure that you like, comment, subscribe. Hit me up in the comments. Let me know what other content you want to see. Let me know what other advice that I can give, tips that I can offer. I am so here for you guys. I am so happy that I can do this for you guys. I love content creating for y'all and just giving y'all all the gems and all the research and anything else that you guys need in order to be able to manifest your wildest dreams and just feel motivated to be able to be the best you that you can be. All right, so that is What's the Vibe for this week. Remember, check on part 2, Wavelengths, dropping tomorrow at 4 p.m. Vibe out.